I'm taking the 911 because it's a more, I think, more refined car. I don't think they both look fantastic, but I think your handling, refinement, and everything that's all going on Porsche's side, price.
I've heard, and this could not be true. I've heard that there's Chevy dealers out there acting like they're Porsche or Ferrari, where if you go in there and you try to order one of these cars, they tell you, well, you have to buy 16 Blazers and some Tahoes before we'll sell you this car. Now, I don't know how true that is. Again, this is information I've gotten on Twitter or X, so it could very much not be true, but that's crazy if they are doing that. That's a Chevy dealership. You can't walk in there and tell me you got to buy 16 of these other cars before I sell you a Corvette. Like, you're not Porsche or Ferrari or Lamborghini.
The brand doesn't have the pedigree of the German brands or the Italian brands for sure. So a lot of cars have come out in 2024. It's definitely been an interesting year for new car releases, both for normal cars and high performance cars. So I think it's worth, since it's the end of 2024 and I don't really think anything's going to be coming out in the next 3 weeks. I think it's proper time to come out with some of the best and the worst cars that have come out in 2024. So I'm Aiden.
I'm Ivo.
And you're watching Accelerate.
Let me light my cigarette real quick before we get started. We're going to transition to a smoking podcast.
Oh, yeah. So, do you want me to go first?
You go first.
So the first one is going to be the new 2025, which they started ordering, and this car's been tested, but the order started summer of 2024. It's the 2025 Corvette ZR1.
Mid.
This car's insane. Like, absolutely insane for an American car manufacturer to build something like this. I think it's like 1,064 horsepower, 828 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, and 210 miles an hour top speed, mid-engine, flat plane crank V8. The thing sounds absolutely incredible, and they basically took that 670 horsepower, 5.5 liter out of the Z06 that they put in it, and they just shoved that in the ZR1. And this is the amalgamation that we've gotten. This is like the true pinnacle of American supercars and what we've been able to do with our supercar technology. And the testing for it just looks insane. The acceleration times, even past 60 miles an hour, are insane. 1,064 horsepower.
It's crazy.
Is like nothing to scoff at. Cars nowadays with electric and hybrid powertrains, if you were to say 1,000 pound-feet of torque, fine. Like a lot of cars, not a lot, but there's a considerable amount of cars that make 1,000 or more pound-feet of torque, because when you throw turbos and hybrid systems in, of course, that torque figure is just going to jump massively. But when you're talking about 1,064 horsepower out of a production vehicle from the factory, that is an insane amount of power that is rivaled by very, very, very few cars. A lot of the Italian supercars don't make that much power. Most of them don't make that much horsepower. And so you're talking about something like this coming from a brand like Chevy, of all things. We're not talking about like the crazy one-off brands like Hennessy, or what's another one like Saline. We're not talking about those ones. This is a like production car. You can walk into your Chevy dealership and order one of these cars.
Well,
you're gonna pay a lot of money.
Coming soon to your local Chevrolet dealership, starting at $300. Not counting the markup.
Stupid price, of course, and there's gonna be a dealer markup. All this other garbage that they're gonna do. But the fact is you can order one.
Listen, he's right. That car's incredible. It's an amazing car, but I don't think it's right saying you can order one, because I've heard, and this could not be true, I've heard that there's Chevy dealers out there acting like they're Porsche or Ferrari, where if you go in there and you try to order one of these cars, they tell you, well, you have to buy 16 Blazers and some Tahoes before we'll sell you this car. Now, I don't know how true that is. Again, this is information I've gotten on Twitter or X, so it could very much not be true. But that's crazy if they are doing that. That's a
It's
Chevy dealership. You
it's
can't walk in there and tell me you got to buy 16 of these other cars before I sell you a Corvette. Like, you're not Porsche or Ferrari or
yeah, it doesn't.
Lamborghini.
The brand
Like,
doesn't have the pedigree of the German brands or the Italian brands for sure.
it is gonna be an amazing car though. I'm excited to see what it does like on the Nürburgring and everything because it's gonna be crazy.
When
Like,
you the amount of downforce technology they've put into it, I mean, this thing is rear-wheel drive and pulls off the acceleration numbers that it does, and 828 pound-feet of torque going to a rear-wheel drive powertrain. You're going to spin, of course, but the amount of downforce at high speeds for better turn-in, better handling capabilities, the stuff they've done to the ZR1 is absolutely insane. And this all started from a mid-engine chassis back in 2020 with the C8 Stingray, and that made 495 horsepower, something like that. But so like we've gone from a 6.2 liter mid-engine V8 to a 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8 with a twin turbo setup. Um, Now, obviously, of course, I mean the Z06. If you're wanting that exotic sounding car and that's all you care about, and you still want it really fast, the regular Z06 is going to be plenty. That's 670 naturally aspirated horsepower, one of the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 ever to come out of a car. Um, but what they've done is they've taken that formula that works very well for them, and they've turned it into a next level supercar because that's what this is.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of times when the C8 first came out, there was a lot of people clowning on it because people were calling it a supercar, and a lot of people were saying, no, it's not a supercar, it's just a Corvette. Well, if at this point you don't think the Z06 and the ZR1 are supercars, they're supercars at this point. Maybe not a normal C8. I don't think it has the performance levels or the horsepower levels to get there, but I think if you're getting a Z06 or a ZR1, you are buying a supercar.
Here's my problem with the Corvette becoming what it's becoming. It's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I have nothing against the car. I think it's gonna be an awesome car. I'd love to drive one. I've never driven a Z06. You know,
Yeah, neither have I.
and I'm talking about C8. I've driven a C7 Z06, great car, fast. I've never driven a C8 Z06. I've driven a regular Stingray, and it's a fine car. I mean, if you get one now for 60, 70 grand, that's a great car. It's a good daily and everything's got plenty of space. My problem with the Corvette is that now it's starting to punch way above its weight. And it's like, why would I spend 350, 400 grand? By the way, I don't know what the actual price of the car is. I'm just spitballing
I'll
numbers.
look it up.
Yeah, if you want to look it up.
Yeah.
But if you're spending that much money counting markups and everything, why would I not just go buy the new Lamborghini Tenerife or go buy a used Huracan Performante or STO or even an Aventador or a Ferrari or a McLaren, which arguably the McLaren's probably going to be faster. Why? You know what I mean? It's like I could go buy exotic cars for that price and then say I own an exotic car. Because at the end of the day, it's a fantastic car. And if you're buying it for track use, that's awesome. But most people are probably not going to track this car. Let's be honest.
$180,000.
That's just the MSRP? You're not
according
touching
to
that car for
Car and
180
Driver.
grand.
Yeah, probably not. And the Z06 starts
I think it's like
at-
150,
Is it?
I think. Maybe 120, 130. I don't know.
The Z06 starts at 113.
Yeah, but they're going for 200.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're expensive cars.
I mean,
And the thing is, I promise you that ZR1, in fact, I know because I've seen it online, they're asking 300.
well,
Like,
I mean, that's why I don't think it's going to be the car for everyone. If you still want an American supercar, the Z06 it starts at 113.
yeah.
You're not going to get it for that, but I mean, it's still a 10-second car. I just looked up 10.6 in the quarter for the Z06.
That's crazy.
For
That's
a
crazy.
factory car, there are not many cars on the planet that get released from the factory with a 10.6-second quarter mile.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great car, but I think we also should talk about another one that's within the same category, the E-Ray. The Corvette E-Ray, which was also released, but I feel like Z01 overshadowed it.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Well,
you
I
know-
think the Z06 just overshadowed it too. It's just
True.
that car never
True.
got all-wheel drive.
I've
hybrid.
never seen one.
Never seen it in real life.
I don't
I've
like.
seen
Is it
the
out?
Z06.
Can you go buy one? Is it out? I don't know.
I've seen the Z06. I've never
I
seen
have.
an E-Ray.
Yeah, I've never seen an E-Ray. I don't even know if you could go buy one right now. I genuinely, I probably should have looked this up before, but I don't know. But what I do know is that the E-Ray was a cool concept. It's
Right.
literally just a regular Stingray with all-wheel drive and a hybrid powertrain.
They basically hybridized the 6.2 liter.
That's pretty cool.
and they stuck all-wheel drive in it, which is cool. Like, don't get me wrong, like that is like still 495 horsepower, so it's not like they touched
You're
it
probably
much.
getting more power with the hybrid.
Let's see. The E-Ray is a hybrid performance all-wheel drive. Yeah. So 2.5 seconds 0 to 60,
That's
10.5 second quarter mile
Wow.
in a combined horsepower of 655. So it's
So it's
putting
technically
up
faster than a Z06.
Yeah, it's like about the same speed.
Yeah.
In the quarter, it claims to be 1/10 of a second faster.
What's the price on it? Does it say over there?
106,000. So it starts
So it's cheaper than a Z06. I mean, it's not going to sound as good as a Z06. I think it looks like a regular.
It's going to
Stingray,
sound
but-
like a C8 Stingray,
Yeah.
and it's going to be as fast as a Z06.
That's crazy. I mean, if you don't want a regular Stingray, the E-Ray is probably a good option.
All-wheel
And it's
drive's
all-wheel
also
drive.
good. Yeah, all-wheel drive's also good because it makes it more daily drivable in different conditions. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing. So yeah, Corvette, Chevy. I mean, they've nailed it. I think with this product that they've been building since 2020.
It's a great car.
This concept for this car came out over a decade ago, and they've like delivered on this concept beyond what most people have ever expected. And the new trim levels that they've come out with, and they've done like hybrid very well with this car. It's one trim, and then there's the three others that are normal V8s or
ICE engines.
turbocharged V8s. ICE engines. Like, I think Corvette or Chevy has done really well with the Corvette.
Yeah. Next car we got to talk about this year. It's been released officially, you could say, is the new M5.
Yeah.
What's the code name for that? What is it? The
The G.
G30?
No,
I actually don't know. I actually genuinely don't know. I don't know BMW name culture like that.
5.
G90? Oh, it is the G90,
Yeah, it'd be
right?
The G90.
Because the
M5.
F90 was the last one. Yeah. it's the
Yes, it'd
G90.
be the G90 M5.
Yeah.
That's
That's a crazy car.
What a car.
Yeah.
So the thing with the G90 is its weight.
Honestly, the only thing the car's got going for me personally is how fast it is. I don't like the way it looks. I've seen plenty of videos and pictures of it at this point. I watched reviews of the car. I don't like the interior. I've driven a new 5 Series interior when I had that 530 rental. I don't like it. I think it's too much like an Accord. It just doesn't look good. And I don't like all the no buttons and all the haptic touch on the steering wheel. I don't like any of that. The only thing I like about the new M5 is how fast it is. And it's fast.
The interesting thing about the M5 is we have different philosophies on how we view design and technology enhancements over, with new cars and stuff like that. So none of the technology bothers me. I like the rear end of it. I think the front end looks a little wonky. There was a lot of people when it first initially came out and was first initially tested. Oh, the F90 is faster. The F90 is not faster. You cannot compare an F90 CS to the G90 base. That doesn't even compute. The CS is
we should
another
probably
freaking-
say that because this is just a regular M5. Regular. Like, they're probably going to have a comp, and then there's probably going to be a CS at some point.
The thing makes
But-
over 750 horsepower.
It's crazy.
And
It's
yes,
crazy.
it's heavy. And there was videos done by reviewers that put this up against the F90 and, of course, the G91.
Yeah.
What I like about it is, it's BMW, I think, taking what they've done and the best of what they've done over the last, 2 years with them pushing for the, when they started doing the life cycle impulses and everything like that on all the cars. They've taken all that and put it into the new 5 Series and M5. I think the 5 Series as a whole, as a model, including the M5, needs a lot of work still. But I think what they've done is they're trying. BMW's always been really good at this. Is they tend to push for innovation rather than refinement.
Mhm.
So I think that's a more Mercedes thing, is refinement versus BMW's always gone for innovation, and it doesn't always catch properly. When they came out with the G80 and the G82 M2 or M3 and M4, people clowned on the grille, people clowned on how it looked, but the difference is now people love those cars for what they are. The people are in love with the G Series M3 and M4 and the M2. People love them, and I think the M5 is going to be the exact same way. Plus, for the love of God, thank you brought the touring to the United States.
True.
Which
We've never had an M5
we've never
touring.
had an M5 touring in the United States. Mercedes has done touring, or the wagon with the E63. Audi's done the R6 Avant, and now BMW's doing the M5 touring in the United States. I would have rather them brought the M3 touring.
Sure.
But the M5 touring being here is a major step for, I think, America getting cars that we might not buy a ton of them. I mean, this was, of course, a very expensive car.
That's what I was about to say. Is that it's great, it's coming, but I feel like it's gonna be short lived because everybody's hyped about it
well,
because
and
we
I'm
like
surprised
wagons.
the RS6 Avant is still around. Like, I'm surprised that car's still
They're gonna
around.
kill it off.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they killed off the E63 wagon because nobody was buying the E63
Right.
wagon. And it's like I like wagons. I'd buy a wagon, but I also don't want to go buy $150,000 car as a wagon as a daily because then you're honestly kind of scared to use it as a
Yeah.
wagon because if you scratch it, I mean it's a $150,000 car. It's great in concept. It's a cool looking. I actually think the wagon looks better than the sedan.
Oh, so do I.
But here's the thing. It's like I really think it's gonna be short lived. I don't think people are gonna buy it because it's gonna be super expensive.
It's going to be ridiculously expensive. I mean, it's probably going to end up like the RS6 Avant, which is still purchasable, by the way. You can
still
still
go buy
buy
it,
the
yeah.
wagon RS6.
They're great cars too.
Oh, and they look fantastic,
Yeah.
and they sound great, and they're very fast. I think it's going to probably stick around for like 4 to 5 years, just like the RS6 Avant will, and then it'll go away because I don't think they're going to have the sales numbers to justify it. I think they're bringing it over here solely because there is a select group of
The niche.
enthusiasts that want these cars, and they have the money to buy these cars. But I think what they're going to realize is, just like Audi's going to realize at one point, there is not a market large enough
Yeah.
to support shipping these cars to the United States. Or what they're going to do is they're going to be made to order, because they come from
Oh, yeah.
Germany anyways. So it's going to be, if you want one of these, we'll sell it in the United States, but it's going to take 6 months to get your car, 3 months to get your car, because we're not going to keep these on inventory for you.
True.
Which is good if you don't want markups, because dealers probably won't mark them up once they see that people aren't buying them.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they're going to definitely be made to order at one point. Dealers will not keep these in
Yeah.
inventory.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I wonder if they've actually started delivering cars to people because I've never seen the new M5.
neither of
I've
us.
seen it online on YouTube and everything. People are reviewing them, so they're out there. But I don't know if they're actually like out there. Like if you could.
Yeah, I've never seen an M5 in person. I've seen them plenty on YouTube channels and stuff like that. Never seen it in person, so it'll be really interesting to see one for the first time. I'm assuming, just like with the G82 and the G80, it's going to look a lot better in person than it is on camera. That's how it was for when we got the new generation M3 and M4. So let's hope that this car actually does more than what what we expected to.
Yeah.
So, all right, you have another one?
I do, but I think it's your turn. I just said the M5.
Okay. I own this car, or I lease this car, so I'm just gonna say it. The new Model 3 Performance, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this because I've talked about this car a lot, is incredible. We ran our friend Jacob was at the drag strip last night, and an M3P went on 10.9 in the quarter.
Wow. Damn, that's crazy.
In the quarter. That's ridiculous for a car that costs $55,000. It's fast, it's not expensive, and you get a $7,500 EV tax credit, which Tesla buys from you, discounts on the car, as long as you've not gotten an electric car before. It's nice. The quality issues aren't as bad as they used to be on the last one. It's much better looking now. The interior, I wish it had a gauge cluster, but I guess I'm too poor to afford a Model S Plaid, so that's my fault. Overall, I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but it is a new release. I think Tesla knocked it out of the park with that one. And if you've not seen the new Model 3s as a whole new model or a whole new refresh, that car is all over the road now, and people are just buying them up like hotcakes. Of course, Tesla has put themselves with the Model Y at the top of the top sales charts for the United States car market. So clearly they're doing something right with their new cars. I think that's about it. 300 miles of range. We should add a little more, but 300 miles of range, honestly, is perfectly fine for me. I took it to California 2 weeks ago, and the range wasn't an issue at all. But yeah,
Nice.
so that's my, again, don't want to spend too much time on it because I've talked about it before, but one of my favorite cars that have been released by a brand. And it really, I think, puts the performance aspect into the hands of millions of people, because people will go spend $55,000 on a car or a BMW, like a base 3 Series, right? That doesn't have the performance, that isn't as, I don't want to say isn't as nice, but it's pretty base. You're not getting the nice merino leather, and sometimes not even Vernasca leather in a BMW, or the new C-Class, which is a major letdown for a lot of people, other than its tech, which is good.
Not the regular C-Class.
The C-Class, yeah, the regular one sells fine, but the C43 or the C63 to get that level of performance, because like it's too expensive. So I think what Tesla's done is they've put that performance aspect into hands of millions of people, and I think that's why they just keep getting more and more popular.
Yeah.
Because we can give this thing that is typically taboo and hundreds of $100,000+ we're going to give it to everybody. And so that's what I appreciate about them, is they're just innovation on that level. So all right, well, that was mine.
All right.
You got another one?
Yeah, for this can probably be the worst, or not the worst, but one of the bad ones is, well, we kind of mentioned the C63.
Yeah.
It's a release for this year. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is. It's a really fast car.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I watched a car wow video, and it's faster than the G80.
Yeah, I saw something about that. That
Yeah.
it is faster than the G80.
Yeah, it's faster than the G80 in a straight line. I mean, which we kind of figured. It's got like 680 horsepower. It's heavy because it's a hybrid, but it's very fast. And I mean, I've never driven one. We did a video on a C43, so if you want to see a video on that, it's on the channel somewhere, so you guys can see it. And that was quick too. I mean, for a car that was like 40 grand, it wasn't too bad. It was nice, but again, I just don't like small engines and cars that aren't supposed to have small
Yeah.
engines. When you're gonna call it a C63 and you're gonna put a 2-liter turbo in it, that's pretty shitty. And I mean, the sales reflect
entire
that.
point of 63 in the original sense was that it had a 6.2 liter.
Yeah, like the one I have, like
6.3 liter V8.
the one I
under
have
the
in
hood.
my CL,
Right.
which is exactly that motor, the M156. But it's not it. It really is just not it. It's fast. Again, the same. I had the same concept with the M5. It's fast, but I would not buy one ever
Right.
because I don't like what it stands for. What it is. I like the way it looks though. The C63 looks awesome.
It does.
I think it's a really aggressive and really pretty looking car. It's just a letdown because of the powertrain they chose to use in it. I mean, if I'm buying a C63, you're thinking, loud, pops, bangs, fast, V8, and you're getting a 2-liter 4-cylinder. It's like you're buying a C43.
Right.
Actually, the C43 used to be a V6. So that I don't know. I don't know what Mercedes is doing.
I think
but-
the letdown is also, you mentioned straight line performance, and I think it was great that you added that little asterisk there, because in corners it does not.
Well, it's very heavy.
It's extremely heavy, and a lot of the car review channels who have gotten their hands on one, they say the exact same thing. It's great in a straight line. It's nice. It's refined. The technology's great. It looks wonderful. The problem is what's under the hood, and anytime that car takes a turn, you feel it because
you're-
it's so heavy.
I think the market for that car is for people that want a really nice C-Class, but don't care about the name culture or
Yeah.
aren't car people.
Yeah.
Like, you want something that's super fast that will pretty much beat anything in its class in a straight line. That car's fine, and it has really nice tech. It's a nicely built car. But if you know what it is, you probably wouldn't buy it because
It
I
needs
wouldn't
a
buy it.
V8.
It needs
I
a
don't
V8.
even care if it's slower than the G80 M3. It needs a V8
Yeah,
because
yeah.
what those cars mean, and even like honestly at that tier of car, when you're looking at G80 M3 and C63, at that tier, I honestly don't care which one is faster. Because
Yeah.
at that point, it's the emotion behind driving it. It's
Yep.
the powertrain that matters. They're already, both of them are going to be within a couple tenths of a second from each other. They're going to be very closely matched. And at that point, it's a lot of preference. But what Mercedes has done, because they've removed the V8, they've given the G80 more upsides than just preference. Because now it's all these people who would have bought a C63 if you just put a V8 in the car. Regardless of your emission standards that you have to follow, you could have taken the V8 out of anything else and
Yep.
kept it in the C63. But you didn't. And now you've lost this massive market
Yep.
that you're either sending to Audi, or you're forcing them to go to BMW, or you're just outpricing them for cars that do have V8s in your own brand, which means now they're not going to buy anything.
Yep.
And you've now outpriced a bunch of these customers who wanted the V8 and only wanted to pay 90 grand for it for this German performance car. Well, they can't afford to go into an AMG GT 4-door or coupe or an SL 63, or they are definitely going to be outpriced when the CLE 63 comes out, which hopefully has a V8.
Well, that's what all the reports are saying.
Or like, and then they can't go to BMW for a V8 because now I have to get an M5. That's 130 grand. So they'll have to settle with an inline 6 or a V6 from Audi for the
Yep.
RS5. So when they literally, Mercedes was the last person who offered that level of performance in a sedan like that with a V8.
Yeah.
Because BMW hasn't done that since 2012 with the E90 and E13 or 12.
13.
E92,
13.
E90.
13.
That's the last time a sedan like that, other than Mercedes, had a V8 under the hood.
Yeah.
And of course, Audi did with the RS5 too. So yes,
It's a shame.
but that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it is a shame. It really is because it was such a cool car. Even the 205, it didn't sound as good as the 204, but it was awesome.
Mhm.
Turbo V8 looks great. Sounds great. Performance was really good too. You get an S model, you get like 500 horsepower, not bad. But something we also can talk about, and then we can culminate these cars into this one thing, is Mercedes has dropped a lot of cars this year.
Mhm.
C63 was a letdown. CLE 53, which inline six, twin turbo, hybrid, I've heard is really cool. And I love the way it looks.
It looks fantastic.
It looks so mean.
I
Like,
think it's one of the best looking cars Mercedes has come out with in
Yeah.
the last like 5 years.
it's so good. It's so good. I would buy one, but I want a 63.
Mm-hmm.
And the reports are saying that the CLE 63 is going to have a V8 because nobody's buying the C63. Like,
Right.
legitimately, no one is buying it. We're not just saying that. Like, the sales, like, they're not sold in the. I don't think you can buy one here because the dealers here refuse to do it. They were like, this car's not selling. We don't want the car. I mean, actually, they probably do have. I know. I'm
Hey, you
lying.
can get
I'm
one
like, you could
here.
get one because there's some dealerships that do have them, but they just can't move them because no one wants them.
They have
But-
one for sale at Fletcher Jones.
Oh, well, there you go. But the CLE 63 is hopefully it's a V8. That's gonna be a sick car, and also the S63 that they just released. That car's insane. It's like 800 horsepower.
And you know what? Honestly, I mean, this car is a bit of a boat as well. But the new GT63 coupe,
Mm.
AMG GT63,
mhm.
it's when the SL63 had come out.
Yeah.
That car looked amazing. It had given me hope that the AMG GT, the new one, is gonna be fantastic. And I think Mercedes also with looks and the V8 and this technology and everything, it's heavy.
It is.
And what
is.
they did with the old AMG GT is the engine set quite low
Yeah.
under the hood, which improved its center of gravity. I think with the handling aspects, because now the engine sits up higher, so the weight distribution isn't as good on the new one. So if you're like into the performance aspect of it, the old one probably still handles better because of how low the center of gravity was in that car.
Right.
But the looks and the speed and the engine and the technology of this new one overall, I mean, price sucks because it's just astronomically expensive.
Yeah.
But this new AMG GT63, it's no longer called the AMG GTS or R Blackwing and stuff like that, but or Black Series, sorry. But it looks great. I just wish it was cheaper. That's all.
Yeah.
But yep.
Yeah.
I think Mercedes did hit it out of the park with a lot of their refreshed V8 models. Just sucks that they dropped the ball on the models that they could have put a V8 in that would have sold very well.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Well, they also made the AMG GT too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a GT63 is like 200 grand. That's crazy.
And that's what I said when it was teased and they were talking
Yeah.
about it coming out as a future vehicle. The rumored price was 200 grand. I'm like, well, who does Mercedes think they
That's
are?
crazy.
Because that's
I
a
mean,
911.
so well, there's 3 different model ranges within the GT63, and there's gonna be a Pro.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a GTR. There's gonna be a Black Series eventually. Like, that's gonna happen because that's what they did with the last one.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, you could just get the regular GT63, and you could get a race version of it with I forget what it's called, but I don't know if it's called the Pro. It might be something like that. I think it is called the Pro. Yeah. So you can get it. The thing is though, is you can also get a GT43, which
Oh,
has
yeah.
the inline 4 like from the C43.
I believe so.
Yeah, you could get that car, but that's like you buy that if you can't afford the other
And
ones.
isn't
But
there
you
a
really want.
53
There is.
in between it
There is,
with
yeah.
an inline 6?
So it's the GT43, 53, and the 63, which is
Mm-hmm.
they're at least straightening out the name culture, so they're all in line.
Yeah, it makes
pretty
sense.
good. But the thing is, it's like if you buy a GT43, how does that compete against a 911? Because a base Carrera still comes with a twin turbo flat 6,
Mm-hmm.
and it's faster than a GT43.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, it is a 911 competitor because the 4-seat coupe
Yeah.
thing. And if you want an SL, that's also a convertible comparator to the
Well, how about this?
911.
A GT63, right?
Yeah.
For $200 or plus $1,000, or the new 911 Carrera GTS with
Yeah.
the single turbo flat 6 hybrid that
Yeah.
they just did this year,
Yeah.
which is cheaper.
Is it cheaper?
I'm pretty sure it's
Or are
about
they around
20.
the same
I think it's
price?
185 when I spec'd it.
Interesting.
So I'm taking the 911 because it's I think a more refined car. I don't think they both look fantastic, but I think your handling, refinement, and everything that's all going on Porsche's side, and price. Like, what qualifies you to charge this much for a car when the 911 Carrera GTS, the new one, is this fantastic machine with this modified PDK with a hybrid system and this new single turbo flat 6 that sounds ungodly because they've removed one of the turbochargers on it. And so to me, it's Mercedes in this weird spot where you're overvaluing your brand's worth to the consumer. You're not worth $200,000 a car. It's just not that.
That car's too much for that.
Mm-hmm.
Too much money for that. But who knows? We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I mean, the car's out. It's got great reviews. People are saying it's a great car, handles well, drives well, fast. It's just, I don't know. I guess if you want a different looking 911, you could buy that.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest here, every 911 looks the same.
True.
I mean, let's start getting into the GT cars.
Yeah, GT cars.
It's like most of them look the same.
But they were next door. They were selling a GT fucking 3 RS for $400,000.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, you also can't touch.
You also can't touch a GT3 RS because
well, you need to have bought 16 Taycans and Macans and
how many Macans have you owned this year? Oh, you've only owned 10, not 12. Sorry,
we might need to do a whole episode just talking about car brands that do that because it's that whole system is insane.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Like
Ferrari
it's crazy.
And Porsche drive me nuts with that stuff.
Crazy.
Lamborghini, you can walk into a Lambo dealership, they'll give you a Huracan. But if you if you walked into a Ferrari dealership. They're like, I want what's the new one that they're coming out with that replaces
the SFXX or whatever.
Yeah, like let's say you wanted an SF90. If you walked into a Ferrari dealership, they say, "Have you bought a Roma?"
Well, no, they'll sell you an SF90 because they can't move them.
Oh, is that true? Okay.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, there's a lot of cars that they have that will be like, "Have you owned a Roma yet? How about a Pure Sang?
How about a Roma Spider?
How about a Roma Spider? Have you owned these cars yet? No? Well, then you can't buy this one. I'm sorry."
Yeah. It's a shame, but I mean that's kind of our list.
I think those.
We've had some great cars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
ZR1, great cars come out. We've had some letdowns like the C63, but it's exciting to see where we're gonna end up next year.
Oh yeah, I can't wait till 2025. So, if you guys enjoyed watching the podcast, make sure you leave a like and a follow. We'll see you in the next one.